Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It's a Thursday, July 10th, 2025. And want to talk about this Rainmaker CEO. He was recently brought to this position by Peter Thiel, for people who don't know that. Look into his history. So Peter Thiel, big with the AI world, the military, police, surveillance state. It's largely thanks to Peter Thiel that this young 25-year-old Augustus Doricko, however you say his name, has become the young startup that is the Rainmaker company. And of course, it's named after somebody who did this over 100 years ago, brought rain to the fields of farmers. But yeah, we're going to talk about what stands out about old Augustus Doricko, who's just 25. And of course, to get you started, it's another 201, the number of weather control history. As they say, the world is a stage, and if you want to see who the actors are, you just learn this little Kabbalistic code of ABC 1, 2, 3, and you'll start to see right through the theatrics. So we're going to talk more about him and the article that was written about him earlier this year by Newsweek on the 38th day of the year, because, of course, this recent flood in Texas has been compared to something that happened 38 years ago, and as we discussed, Lyndon Johnson, a Texas man who said, "Who controls the weather controls the world." What happened on the 4th of July was 38 days after the anniversary of his remarks about weather control at Texas State University. So we'll look more at that. I listened to a few of the interviews that Mr. Augustus did, and he did talk about the history of silver iodide and cloud seeding, and we've talked about this plenty of times. For people who don't know the history of how it was discovered cloud seeding could be achieved, and achieving rainfall specifically with silver iodide, it was the brother of the author Kurt Vonnegut, who's credited with the discovery while working for General Electric. The first experiment was November 14th, 1946. Notice how General Electric 74, kind of like what happened on 7-4. Now you're hearing about this young guy who looks like a long-lost member of the Bon Jovi brothers, Augustus. Got that 80s hair metal band hair. But anyway, we're going to talk more about how synced up this seems to be with the Vonnegut brothers. Again, Bernard Vonnegut was the brother of Kurt Vonnegut. Bernard Vonnegut's the man credited with the discovery of silver iodide and rainfall. And Kurt Vonnegut, the famous author, wrote the book Ice Nine. And several of those books, he kind of touched on the madness of his brother and the things General Electric were working on. But we're going to look at how this seems to be perfectly synced with the Vonnegut brothers. And keep in mind, November 14th is the day leaving 47 days left in the year. And silver's the 47th element on the periodic table. And here we are in the time of number 47, where number 47 is telling you, there's nothing political about this. There's nothing conspiratorial about this. It's just one of those crazy things that happens. You hear a lot of the right-wing grifters saying the same thing, that there's no conspiracy. It's just, a crazy act of Mother Nature. But yeah, we're going to touch on this in light of the history of General Electric, creating rainfall, and like I said, the Vonnegut brothers. It's pretty amazing. Also, last night I had the news on. I heard about the New Mexico flooding, but I missed the story about Chicago having this once-in-500-year rain event, and I had the news on. And you ever hear something on the news and you're not sure you heard it right? But what I thought I heard, I actually did hear it right, but I had to go double check because I'd never heard of this guy before. When they were showing the Chicago flooding, the broadcast I was watching, it was showing people coming out of a concert soaking wet, and they were saying some of the concert goers at the Teddy Swims event had to have their cars towed or they were destroyed by this flood event. And I said, did they just say Teddy Swims? I'd never heard of a Teddy Swims before. That said, I had to look him up. He has a hit song called Lose Control. He actually has a really good voice. And if I didn't know better, if I was hearing on the radio and didn't see the guy, I would assume that he was not a white guy. But anyway, Teddy Swims does have a good voice. I got to give him that. And Swims is not his real name. It's his artist name. But Yeah, Teddy Swims was performing when this crazy rain event happened. And then the better part is that the concert in Chicago, it had to get rescheduled. He had to cancel on the day leaving 201 days left in the year, June 13th, the Chicago one, to reschedule for July 8th, 25 days later. You know what I mean? 25 days later, like we're getting this little 25-year-old Mr. 201 teaching us all about what he did with cloud seeding in Texas on 7/2. And again, I don't think it's the little 25-year-old who's been appointed to this cloud seeding company that's responsible for it. Far from it. We know that a guy who just started this company this year is not what's behind this, but we do see how it fits in. And again, just from when the concert was supposed to happen to when he performed and the flood came down and people had to swim back to their cars from Teddy Swim's show, 25 days. And remember, I said this at the beginning of the year. Things that I said to look out for at the beginning of the year. More fires, because fire's 25. More floods, because flood's 25. I said plane crashes could be a big theme in 2025, because plane crash has that 97 connection, the 25th prime. Like the first big fire of the year was in LA on the 97th day of the mayor's age. But anyway, there has been a lot of flood and fire, and the plane crash thing even blew me away. I thought it would be a trend, but I didn't realize how crazy they would get with the plane crashes. And remember, part of the idea we had of that was because of what happened at the very end of the year on Donnie Darko's birthday, with the plane crashing on Dion Dawkins' property, synced with Donald Trump, the real Donnie Darko, who tried to buy the Buffalo Bills but didn't get it. The 201 guy bought it instead. The current owner of the Bills. Yeah, the Bills' ownership and their coach both have the 201, just for the record. And that set off Donald Trump to run for president. At least that's the way the storybooks tell it. But yeah, we'll talk more about this Chicago flood as well. Just because not many people saw the video on the New Mexico flood, I'll quickly recap that and how it synced with the fire that happened in the same place last year. It's a very familiar pattern. We'll touch more on Lindy Yaccarino stepping down as the head of X on the 201st day of her age when she was serving the Jesuit puppet Elon Musk, who took over Twitter in a major Jesuit ritual. Also buzzing today, nationwide block issued against Trump's birthright citizenship order. And who did it other than a Georgetown alum, meaning he's Jesuit educated, Judge Joseph LaPlante, 201. I mean, it's just... Yeah, it's days like today that remind me why I haven't finished the 201 book I've been working on for the last 5 years. And, years ago, I was reading you guys big chunks of that book and telling you I was almost finished. And I just got in the bad habit of trying to keep up with all the 201s. It's impossible. It's impossible. I think I want my books from now on when I write them to just be short. People don't like to read. I want like 50-page books. I've said that in the past, and it's just hard for me to do because I get to writing and then I'm like, how do I leave this out? How can that not be in there? And the next thing you know, you're at 150 pages and you feel like you still got to put 10 more things in there, and then you're at 200 pages. But I don't know. If I do a big book on 201, it would still be difficult, but maybe it'd have to be a symbolic 201 pages. Anyway, I might just... I do want to finish the writing projects that I haven't finished for the last 5 years, and I might figure out just how to get the very best of the 201s and get it into a nice, concise. Maybe it should be a 56-page book. I think everyone will get the joke of that. It's like the first case of Cooties 19, 56 days after event 201. We've always told you about how crypto is completely controlled by the Jesuit, and it's so obvious. Yesterday, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple Coin, remember the Ripple Coin, which is also called as 201, but if you drop the Ripple Coin and Jesuit order are both 153, they're also both 54. Yesterday, he introduced the Ripple Coin to the U.S. Senate 153 days after his 54th birthday in the Jesuit city, D.C. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I also meant to cover this in the short video I put out yesterday. Just one of the things that was in the headlines on 7/9, the Steele dossier was back. Fox News was reporting on this. CIA report makes it clear Trump was framed. And don't ever forget the CIA. The words in their logo equal 201. Their motto, the work of a nation, the center of intelligence equals 201. They were created on the 201st day of the Pope's age, September 18th, 47. But Steele dossier 79, and this was the news on July 9th. just like Trump with his latest tariffs thing yesterday was on 7-9. And yeah, we'll cover a few other things too, maybe like Joe Burrow's home burglary. There's something quite interesting about this. Maybe even the Commanders, why it matters that they debuted their new uniforms from their golden era on 7-9 while the chump is 79 years old. But let's come back here. So again, I mean, if you're new to my channel and somehow you stumbled on this video, you really want to know about this 201 number. It's pretty much encoded in every major world-shaping event that's ever happened. More recently, COVID-19 changed the world, and it was simulated with Event 201, and there were a lot of 201s in the recreation of the world as we know it. Again, just ask this younger generation that can't even sit still in music class or PE, so they're having to cancel it for all these COVID babies. They're not used to stimulation. Before that, it was when the 2 towers became no towers and then were rebuilt as 1 tower. And on and on. This number's all over the world wars. It's all over a lot of mega events. Pretty much everyone who's ever sat in that Oval Office had to sacrifice somebody in a 201 ritual to get there. And it's the number of the Jesuits, a.k.a. the Illuminati. The Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, who ended up dying 201 days from the anniversary of the Illuminati's establishment. In light of weather control in 201, again, just look into the history of weather warfare. The first admitted act of weather warfare, it was on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, 52. And this week, this guy's become front and center. Some young 25-year-old, a good flood number, who's been accused by online conspiracy theorists of being responsible for the Texas flood. Again, this is what you call a fall guy. It's what you call a scapegoat. But yeah, look into who's behind him. It's Peter Thiel. Interesting. Peter Thiel helping build the police surveillance state. And I would say things like this are actually drops in the bucket, perhaps even big drops in the bucket for the surveillance state, because at the end of the day, they're going to pin these things on climate change, and they're going to pin humanity as responsible for climate change. And they're going to say, because of people's behavior and their irresponsible behavior and their reckless consumption and all the polluting and, destruction of the world they did, they need to be under total surveillance. Every last thing they buy, every last thing they consume, every last thing they do, we need to make sure that everybody's footprint is minimally small. And to ensure that, you must be under the watchful eye of Peter Thiel and Larry Ellison and the rest of the Sam Altman and everybody else in this Stargate project. Again, another one of the big 47 rituals with the chump. Again, the last Stargate project was 47 years earlier. But I think this is, all part of the building rationale. These destructive acts of weather warfare that half the people will think is the result of climate change because that's the side of the political aisle they listen to. And again, don't get me wrong, I am all for taking care of the earth, and I do think we should reduce our consumption and do more. But what I don't like is, weather warfare being used to wipe out and kill people, and then it blamed on Mother Nature so that the authorities can have greater control and influence and surveillance and spy on you at all times. Like Larry Ellison explained last September, saying it'll bring about the best behavior in society. Maybe it will, but at what expense? And we know these watchful cameras aren't going to be on the psychopaths up at the top who will still probably be flying their private jets all over the place and doing God knows what else. Oh, it's easier. It's never been easier to find the neglected children that we can traffic. You know what I mean? Anyway, just look at it. I mean, look at it. The guy's name is 201. The company's Rainmaker in tribute to Charles Hatfield, who went by the Rainmaker from over 100 years ago. We've covered that in the past. If you guys don't know about Charles Hatfield, look him up. He was paid over a century ago to work his magic to bring the rains to farmers who needed it for their crops. And that was predating, JFK and Lyndon Johnson talking about the future of weather control. But yeah, his name was the Rainmaker. If you missed the 4th of July coverage, remember, 4th of July in Gematria equals 177, like the Jesuit order in weather control. And they compared what happened on the 4th to what happened on the 17th day of the 7th month, 38 years ago. And then 4 days later, Lincoln County, which equals 177, got smashed in New Mexico. I'm thinking about the Lincoln County thing because it just reminds me how Lincoln blamed the American Civil War on the Jesuits. And of course, Confederate equals 201. There could be a little joke there. New Mexico's the 47th state. Lincoln's remembered for saying 7 years ago. But yeah. So if you weren't aware of Mr. Hatfield, older post on him. Shout out to Jared Bailey versus the World. It might very well have been Jared who tipped me off to Charles Hatfield. RPM Trey linked a video on this as well. The local news. I believe this was in San Diego. I believe it was San Diego's local news covering Charles Hatfield. But yeah, this information's been out there. So, yeah. Beginning of the year, 38th day, February 7th. Keep in mind, if you've seen this young guy's interviews, he's saying, well, listen, we cloud seeded on July 2nd, and we only put a silver amount of silver iodide in the sky that was amounted to a few Skittles, which created a little rainfall, but not nearly, the infinite gallons that were dumped that wiped out this town. And I saw, I believe it was his interview with Tim Pool, where he explained, Tim Pool, that you can do it like the U.S. did in Vietnam to flood out the Ho Chi Minh Trail. You can do a lot and create a massive flooding event. But he said that's not what we did. We just put a few Skittles worth up there. But notice the day this was written, right? February 7th. And then he's saying that we sprayed on July 2nd. Those are the two dates that can be written 7-2. Remember, Jesuit order equates to 72. And again, it is the Jesuits who this entire history connects to. But yeah, also the 38th day of the year. And if you go to this article I said Newsweek earlier, this article is actually by the New York Post. My bad. New York Post wrote this article about him. And a few other people who were funded by Peter Thiel. They got their startup money from Peter Thiel. But yeah, you go through the article and he's a big focus. You got the photo of him here with his Bon Jovi mullet. And Augustus Doricko credits Peter Thiel's grant program with giving him the courage to drop out of college to start his own tech company. It says he raised $6.3 million from Silicon Valley. Shout out to Evan down in Texas. He's doing a lot of work with the semi-primes. He's realized that 201 is the 63rd semi-prime, and there's probably something to that. You know, names like John Carroll have the 63. He founded the first Jesuit university. The Illuminati equals 63. Order of Illuminati, the actual full name is 201. 63 is big with Rabbinic Judaism, and 201 is obviously big with the Bible and Jewish mysticism. So I don't think that 201-63 relationship is arbitrary. But yeah, he's a big feature of this article. They write more about him in this article about Peter Thiel and these startups than anybody else. Right here, it says he raised $6.3 million in funding. He was in the Bay Area at Berkeley. So, but yeah, it looks like another chosen plant. They said, you know what? This guy was born with the right name. Augustus, what could be more Roman? 201? Yeah, we're gonna have you be the Rainmaker, and that's why they should be teaching this stuff at Berkeley, because then everyone will get the jokes. But yeah, and then just him being 25, right? Here we are in 2025, big flood number. Again, if you're new here, the 4 base ciphers of the English language: alphabetic order with numerology, reverse alphabetic order with numerology. The town that got wiped out on the 4th, Kerrville, is named after James Kerr of the Texas Revolution. It was 83 days to James Kerrville's upcoming birthday anniversary, the 24th of September, 249, like this happened on the country's 249th birthday, largely in the 830 area code, in reverse, flood, earth, Enlil, all 83. July 4th had a 56 date numerology going with Kerr. Climate change is also 56. But yeah, a lot of 83 in the event. So, and July 4th, it had the date numerology password 20 and 56, which would break down to 11 and 2 respectively. But initially, they said 20 children missing from Camp Mystic when the story first broke. One of them related to the Kansas City Chiefs Hunt family, as our friend from New York called in. Also, Landry, connected to the Cowboys franchise, like the Chiefs used to be the Dallas Texans. You know, the weird weather often syncs up with the sports. And I did notice they do have the Chiefs playing on Monday Night Football this year upcoming on October 6th, 106. This is the 106th season. We recently saw the death of Jim Irsay, the Colts owner, right before tip-off of the Pacers game before they went on their run to make it to the finals. But Jim Irsay died 106 days before the NFL season kicked off, the 106th season. Talk more about that in a minute with what happened to Joe Burrow getting his house burglarized. But yeah, you know, and just the same patterns over and over. And they got to throw a 25-year-old out there to teach. You know, the one thing I do like about what's going on, though, is for all these years, the media's kind of made it seem like it's impossible to influence the weather and all this stuff about putting stuff in the sky to change the weather is a bunch of kooky nonsense. Remember last year during the hurricanes, which, again, we saw coming a mile away. We predicted it before the year even began, why it was going to be so nasty last year at the hurricanes. All had to do with The Rock being 52 years old with his 5-2 birthday, the former Miami Hurricane. And if you missed my work on how synced Helene and Milton were with The Rock last year, you should go back and check it out because it's undeniable. But remember, they had that Florida congressman come out of the woodwork, and he was syndicated all over the media, demonizing conspiracy theorists, talking about how dumb the idea of weather warfare is. When you can look it up, he used to represent the 26th District of Florida. Again, I left a nice voicemail for his secretaries last year. I actually talked to his secretary. I never heard back from the congressman. But again, I pointed out that he used to represent the 26th District of Florida, and it was literally his 26th birthday when he was a lot younger man that the United States Congress passed the bill banning weather warfare. So it's like, they picked a guy who literally on his birthday is when the government banned weather warfare to go on the media all day and demonize people who are saying this looks like weather warfare. Remember, Milton equals 83, and it made landfall on the day leaving 83 days left in the year. The day in history that the cartoon Milton the Monster came out. And I'm sure you remember CNN's headlines, if you watch my coverage that night, how they were saying Milton is a monster. That's what CNN had up for their headline all night. Milton is a monster on the anniversary of Milton the Monster. But okay. Yeah, that's Augustus. Okay. The Vonneguts. Again, Kurt Vonnegut wrote Cat's Cradle about Ice Nine, talking about how mad scientists could destroy the world with their experimentation. If you've never read Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, great book. But, yeah, take a look at this. Again, it was General Electric and Kurt Vonnegut's brother, Bernard Vonnegut, who are credited with the use of silver iodide to create rainfall. And notice how General Electric's 74, like the 4th of July, the 7th month, 4th day. Again, this young guy with the mullet, he's been going all over the place, doing interviews, talking about the history of silver iodide and creating rainfall, and that's what his company does. And like I said earlier, November 14th leaves 47 days left in the year. The other way, you can write the 4th of July, 4th day, 7th month. Silver, the 47th element on the periodic table. Silver and silver iodide are absolutely related. Notice that July 4th leaves 180 days left in the year. Bernard Vonnegut equals 180. Again, that's Kurt Vonnegut's brother, who's credited with this discovery and research. And also from his death anniversary, Bernard Vonnegut, to the flood was 70 days. Remember, Guadalupe River equals 70, as does Independence Day, which also equals 74. And from the 4th to the anniversary of the experiment, 134 days. Flooding is 134. Again, this is one of these numbers connected to destruction. And then the brother who essentially wrote about this, Kurt Vonnegut, again in Cat's Cradle, from July 4th to his upcoming birthday, 131 days. Silver iodide, 131. keep in mind 131 is the 32nd prime. America equals 32. 7/4/1776 was the date with 32 numerology. But I don't think that's an accident, especially with Mullet Man running around and giving the history lesson of this all over the TV this week. Now, just last night, it's just those moments where I regret. I wish I still lived in the Seattle area where I had Comcast and they had this beautiful recording device where you could rewind the TV. And I used to use it all the time in my old videos. I'd sit in front of the TV and rewind what I just heard and play it back and talk about it. And maybe that's also why my channel was better back then, because people like watching visuals and the screen, and they'd rather watch visuals than learn information. I mean, those are things I used to do all the time that I don't do so much on my channel anymore because I don't have that. We don't have Comcast out here, and we have Spectrum, and their products don't work. Comcast is a lot more bigger, advanced company, but anyway, yeah, I was sitting there and I was just dumbfounded when they said, these people coming out of the Teddy Swims concert were soaked, and some of them lost their cars. And I was like, Swims or Sims? Again, I had to run and look at the computer. I had to type in Teddy Swims to see what came up, and then sure enough, it came right there, Teddy Swims Chicago concert. I thought, oh my God, a flood incident during Teddy Swims concert. Like, how don't people... Does anybody even blink an eye, or does it just one ear out the other? I mean, there's got to be other people out there going, Teddy Swims brings the rain. And again, his big song is Lose Control. I'll tell you what, you'll own nothing and be happy. Lose control of your life. It could happen real fast. It could happen overnight with this weather warfare. But what else made me laugh is this guy's on the tour called I've Tried Everything But Therapy Tour. He should try Gematria. I bet he didn't try that yet. Anyway. Again, he was supposed to perform in Chicago on June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Again, we just talked about this with Stevie Ray Vaughan and how they synced up the floods with him, and how his album Texas Flood came out on June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. Again, this year we got the State of Israel 201 attacking Iran. We got the 201st Detachment created by the Army, the new tech branch. But yeah, just look at it. He was supposed to perform then, and then he ends up performing 25 days later. And that's not all. Do you know what day this guy was born? It's unbelievable what day he was born. He was born on the day that JFK gave the weather control speech in history to the United Nations, September 25th. For JFK, it was in 61. He was born 31 years later in 92. I did notice this guy was performing at the Huntington Bank Pavilion, which equals 106, which is the 78th composite number. And it was 7/8 that Chicago got flooded. And don't forget the word Jesuit is 78, just pointing back to the Jesuits again. Order out of chaos is 78. Teddy Swims, not his real name, but his music name is 129. 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. And Swims, his last name that he goes by for an entertainer, is an acronym that means someone who isn't me sometimes, which also equals 129. And in light of his concert supposed to being on Friday the 13th, flash flooding equals 223 like Friday the 13th. The other day, about a week ago, ESPN ran this segment on how the Yankees and Mets have both been doing very poorly since Friday the 13th. And it was while the Yankees and the Mets were playing each other. And of course, by the end of that series, it was a 39-loss thing, New York's 39 line. But anyway, they showed the night before that the Yankees were 6-14 since Friday the 13th. And the Mets were 5-14 since Friday the 13th. And again, think of the orange goon from New York, the chump who has a 6/14 birthday. Sure enough, the Mets beat New York in the Subway Series to become 6-14 after the Yankees were already 6-14 since Friday the 13th. And it reminds me how Trump declared the state of emergency for Cooties 19 on Friday the 13th back in March of 2020. But yeah, don't think the cabal isn't using these. And the thing about Friday the 13th is that superstition goes back to the Templars who were burned at the stake on Friday the 13th, and the Jesuits are the modern day Templars. But yeah, 25 days later, it floods, and people had to swim back to their cars, depending on where they parked. But yeah, Teddy Swims, born September 25th. Anniversary of the JFK weather control speech to the United Nations. Of course, that speech was about more than just weather control, but he spoke about weather control, and we talked about how Lyndon Johnson talked about it 244 days later at Texas State University when geoengineering is 244, and so was Texas State University. And also, don't forget that in recent history, Public Enemy put out the album What You Gonna Do When the Grid Goes Down on September 25th. And of course, crazy weather can be used to take out the grid. And that's how we had that dead-on prediction for Valentine's Day following that album. Valentine's Day, the 14th day of the second month. That was 142 days Valentine's Day was after that album came out. And you had the power out. And not to mention Arizona's on the cover of that album. And Arizona's the Valentine's State. But you had the power out in Oregon, Texas, and Georgia from separate storms across the nation that did a lot of damage. And again, Atlanta, parts of Atlanta were without power for a few days. Portland was without power for over a week. A large segment of Portland was, including where my mom lived and my sister. And Houston got the worst of it because they were not used to that extreme of weather. And think about it, Houston's an oil refining city. It was all synced with Klaus Schwab, who's been simulating power outages and, attacks on the grid with Cyber Polygon. It was 322 days after his birthday. But yeah, just about Chicago and flooding. Notice how Chicago, Illinois is 82 like flooding. Flooding's 46 and 35 like Chicago. Of course, we just talked about the 134 with what they did with Texas 134 days before the anniversary of the first silver iodide rain experiment. But yeah, this article talks about how it was a 1 in a 500 year event and how 1 in 500 year events can happen multiple times in a year. I thought that was funny. I was like, that's not really selling the 1 in 500 years when they can happen multiple times in a year. But yeah, if you guys forgot, June 13th, just a few years back, that's when Yellowstone got wiped out with what they called a once in a 1,000 year rain event. Parts of the park were severely damaged from terrible rain. This pattern's come up a lot. It's come up a lot. And perhaps this is how they do it to not be so redundant. They're like, hey, we want to flood Chicago on June 13th. And they're like, well, what if we reschedule 25 days later? You know what I mean? I think we're being a little bit too redundant with the once in 500, once in a 1,000 year events on this day. We better switch it up. And don't forget, 7-4. 7-4 is the 52nd composite number. 74 is the 52nd composite. Again, like what we just saw on the 4th of July in Kerrville. Synced up with Lyndon Johnson's death from 52 years ago. Lyndon Johnson, again, the Texas man who talked about the future of weather control. Yes, the New Mexico flooding, I did do a video on this, where the location that got hit equals 128 like flash flooding, 47 like the 47th state that New Mexico is, right after the 4th day of the 7th month flooding devastation story, which is still in the news because they still can't find all the bodies, and I suspect that they're severely underreporting what happened. You never get the truth. You just get Kabbalistic numbers in the news. 115 is a killing number, and there's 52, the flood number again. And this same area suffered a devastating fire last year. Hold on one second. But from the end of the fire last year, which concluded July 15th, to the flood event on July 8th, was span of 359 days, the 72nd prime. 1 second, I'll be right back in 1 second. Sorry, my robot vacuum was stuck at the door. It's going to come in here and make a lot of noise in a second. But anyway, 359 days, the 72nd prime. The name of the fire last year was the South Fork Fire. 72 forwards and backwards, like Jesuit order, like how this kid with the 201 name saying, hey, listen, we did our clown seating on 7-2. It didn't have anything to do with what happened on 7-4. And just like how the New York Post wrote the article about him on the other 7-2 date, the 7th of February. Yeah, the coordinates of this town, too, that's gotten the fire, and now the rain. 105th meridian, 33rd parallel. Those are some standout numbers. And again, it's in Lincoln County, 177. It's like 4th of July is 177. Like, again, the flood that happened in Texas on the same river not far away 38 years ago was on the 17th day of the 7th month. And they mentioned, one second, they mentioned how this town that's getting wiped out, it was one of the towns that experienced the shock of the Trinity test. And it's a reminder that for nearly 50 years, your U.S. federal government detonated bombs way up in the sky for the purpose of testing weather warfare. And that channel that I've been trying to get to have a conversation about the work we've been doing on weather control for over a decade, she does have some footage that's interesting that she got from another channel showing what looks like a bomb blast going off in the atmosphere the day of the Texas flood. And about 7/4, and, the fact that our government did detonate hydrogen, nuclear, and atomic bombs way up in the atmosphere. 7/4, you guys. Most simple cipher. Weapons 74, energy 74, nuclear 74. And don't forget the other year on 7/4 when California shook big time. Hold on. You guys remember Zion Williamson was making his NBA Summer League debut, and they had to stop his game because of the quake? It was actually because you might recall they were both on China Lake military base, the epicenters of those quakes were, but the first one was July 4th and the next one was July 5th. The Zion Williamson game was the next day, but if you look at the box score, they had to stop Zion Williamson's game while his team was on 74 points due to the latest quake. And you see how his name's also 79? You know how he went to the Pelicans? Pelicans 79. Look at New Orleans Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans. Zion Williamson. You know who's behind the Zion Estate, right? The Society of Jesus. You see the 191, 187, 79. Society of Jesus, 191, 187, 79. Not to mention the 74 like Jesus Christ. Manchurian athletes. And like I said back then, I said I have a feeling they'll save Zion Williamson until they move him to a bigger market, like maybe New York, where he had some significant games back when he was at Duke. And don't forget who told you he was going to Duke when he was in high school. Yeah, that was yours truly. I'll never forget the broken shoe moment. Okay. Yeah, this Linda Yaccarino, and just her name, right? Like yakking, talking. Again, you're not exactly talking when you're on the computer, but that's kind of where people yak away these days with their fingers. A lot of yak, yak, yak on Twitter. Almost nothing on there is worth anything. And as we learned this year, if you're putting out content that's worth anything on Twitter, you will be deleted. Like what happened to me on January 27th, after I thought we were making a comeback on the interwebs. Again, I was finally getting big audiences on there. Every stream I was doing was getting at least 2,000 live viewers. We had our biggest one just 2 days before the deletion, talking about the conference championships in the NFL. Over 5,000 people in the live stream. 2 days later, deleted. But yeah, just big tech in 201, from the 201st detachment to 1,000 other things we talked about to this. On the 201st day of her age, she steps down on 7-9. Notice her name's 129. Again, 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. We just talked about that with Teddy Swims. Georgetown, the first Jesuit university, equals 129. Their motto is both into one. Kind of sounds like 201 if you had to translate it into a nice little poetic sentence. Both into one, 201. She was appointed as the CEO on May 12th and stepped down on 7-9, 790 days later. Again, Society of Jesus is 79, the formal title for the Jesuits. And here was the post once upon a time for Elon Musk appointing her. NBCU ad chief Linda Yaccarino as Twitter CEO. And that was 47 days before his birthday. Twitter's 47. They hadn't rebranded as X yet, so it made sense at the time. And of course, we all know how he linked up with number 47, who runs Truth Social. And of course, the chumps had a number of 47 rituals on Truth Social. All things that told us along the way why he'd be installed in this election. And Yeah, it's just, I mean, what could be more obvious? And don't forget when the other year when Mike Myers, the comedian, Austin Powers, did the show that was a spoof on the Illuminati. If you haven't seen that show, the what is it? The Pentef, what was it? The It's like a play on. Hold on, Mike Myers Illuminati spoof. What's it called again? The Pentaferate or something like that. The Penteverate. But the leader of the Illuminati in that show is Lord Lordington, which is 177 and 201, like the Jesuit order. Also 78, again, like Jesuit. And remember, Elon Musk named the world's richest man the first time ever, January 7th, 2021, the 78th death anniversary of Tesla. Ends up linking up with Trump when Trump's 78 years old, going with the 78 cards in the tarot deck. And once upon a time, when Tesla died, Trump's uncle did the audit of his apartment and papers. And with the whole tarot deck joke, don't forget the tarot cards is 119, and Trump takes office with the 119th Congress, and Elon Musk is going around with that I'm Dark Mega, which is 78. So, yeah, again, I mean, the evidence just continues to build for whose puppet strings these people are on. So it's a lot of 201. And again, today, top story, nationwide block issued against Trump's birthright citizenship order comes from a Georgetown alumni whose name is 201. But notice the Supreme Court heard the oral arguments for this case on May 15th, Mercuralia, the day that Trump became the father of the jab, 2 years to the day of the Claydex simulation, which was 666 days before the pandemic was declared. But notice, today's the 191st day of the year, right? July 10th. 56 days later, big Jesuit numbers, like over half the Supreme Court's Jesuit educated. Society of Jesus 191 and 56. Today, it's not the Supreme Court's call, but it's another Jesuit educated, DC product. But you see how this all lines up? 56 days after the Supreme Court, and this was a big story that day. Big number in DC. And Judge Joseph LaPlante, that's who has the ruling that's got the top headline. And notice he graduated from Georgetown in 87. I just got to point out, what's funny about that. Justice 87. Sure, remember what they did with Antonin Scalia and his death on the 44th day of the year in the time of number 44. Antonin 44. Again, Justice 87. Pillow 87. Dick Cheney 87. And again, it was the ranch near where Dick Cheney shot his buddy in the face with a shotgun. And don't forget, in Sumerian gematria, 87 becomes 522. So all those things that were 87 are 522. From Dick Cheney blasting his buddy in the face to Scalia being found dead on the ranch, who was out. And remember, Scalia was out hunting with his Catholic secret society pals. What was it? The Brotherhood of... I forget. It's related to a wolf like Lupercalia in mathematics. But anyway, their incidents were 522 weeks apart. And again, Family Guy also did the cartoon years earlier where Dick Cheney shoots Antonin Scalia in the face. So, yeah, exactly 522 weeks apart. Anyway, we got a little tangential there, just seeing that this guy graduated in 87 from Georgetown. And, yeah, just, another 201 product. How many do you got to see? How many do you got to see? LaPlante issued a written 38-page order, just right for the 38th parallel, Kabbalah Town. Of course, Kabbalah's got that 38 too. In Sumerian, Kabbalah is 228 like United States of America, and it's pretty much what they use every day here, isn't it? To control the minds of the masses that think they live in the greatest, freest nation ever, except for when they want to be free. You want to go on an ayahuasca tour in America? Oh, you can't do that because you're not free here. You want to go on a drug tour? Sorry, you're going to have to travel across the Atlantic. Sex tourism for all the guys who can't get laid. You're definitely not going to do that. Well, you can try that here, but you might end up in a slammer because it's a police sting, and that was actually an undercover officer. But, go to a place like Thailand, which also flies the red, white, and blue. You know what I mean? Again, there's a lot more freer places in the world. America's not number one in anything other than obesity and being overrated. We don't rank high in any of the academic categories, health categories, not a thing. Not even high in the freedom category. We're not spreading democracy anywhere because we don't even have a democracy here. So, yeah, this nation is nothing but one big mind control lie. And, I said a while back, I said Bitcoin, I said this a long time ago. It was back when Bitcoin, I told everybody that Bitcoin was going to be 72K on the 72nd day of the year. This is over a year ago now. And sure enough, it did. And then it collapsed. It got up to 73K on the 73rd day. And then it collapsed back down to about 50K range. But I talked about back then, I said, a lot of people thought it was on its way up to 150K and it couldn't be stopped. And I told you guys that when it hit 72, that's probably the good exit point. And that was a good strategy at the time. But I said, it like all markets, it goes up and down. I said the next major milestone for Bitcoin will be 117K. You guys know Bitcoin is on the verge of hitting 117K right now, and it could do it tomorrow on the 11th day of the 7th month. Bitcoin's at an all-time high, creeping up almost to 117. And the other thing I find interesting about that is Ripple Coin also has the 117. And again, just yesterday, you have the CEO of Ripple Coin, who's part of the history of Bitcoin, presenting Ripple to the Senate. And don't forget what the other big 117 is. It's the Central Intelligence Agency, which is a major Jesuit thing, just like all these crypto companies are. And I do feel like crypto is just another way to get people really excited about digital currency, which is really just something the state wants, because then they can track every last thing you do, every last purchase you make. Good luck with that, prostitute in America. I mean, you can probably still go to Thailand and use your digital currency, but it's not going to work in America anymore. Sorry for all the ladies who pay the bills that way. You'll find out just how much less free you are once the digital currency's here. Yeah, no more dime bags from the dealer. Or who knows, that could become the new currency. To get a dime bag, you got to do the... I'm not even going to go there. Never mind. But anyway, again, 153 days after his 54th birthday, he's presenting Ripple Coin to the Senate. You don't think that's more evidence that D.C. is the Jesuit city? I don't know what's wrong with people. I hear people saying things like, Gematria is a parlor house trick. Here, for all you guys who leave comments like that, come on here and do a parlor house trick with me. Show me this perfect alignment you can pull off today with yours truly. Because I'm showing how your federal government operates this way every single day. If this is a parlor house trick that you can get anything to line up with anything, start calling in and debunking and showing how you can make anything line up with me every single day. I'm pretty sure you can't do it. I'm pretty sure you can't achieve it. I've been here for, again, we're about 1 month away from 12 years straight of doing this every single day, just showing you what's going on in the world. Again, Steele dossier in the news on 7/9. More tariffs in the news on 7/9, Here's Joe Burrow's house getting burglarized on July 8th. Do you remember earlier this year when I talked about this story, Jalen Hurts, the Eagles quarterback, getting married to Bly Burrows on April 22nd, the 112th day of the year? Eagles equals 22. It was the news on the 22nd. 112th day of the year, big Super Bowl number. Last year, home teams became 11-2 in the postseason when the Eagles won the Super Bowl because the NFC was the designated home team. Not to mention they beat the Chiefs, which also equals 112. So, man, again, Eagles, 3 of the 4 final scores in their playoff run was 22. They gave the Chiefs their 22nd all-time postseason loss. Philadelphia, 65-61. Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs, used to coach Philly. He got his 61st loss with the Chiefs since he became the coach of the Chiefs, losing to his old team, Philly, in the Super Bowl, plus a lot of other things. But anyway, okay, so Jalen Hurts got married to Bly Burrows. And we were already speculating before that story even came out that, that's a potential Super Bowl matchup there, Eagles and Bengals. We'll have to see what they got lined up. We'll follow the clues. So again, we're following clues. So the day that Burrow's house got burglarized, July 8th, is 215 days before the upcoming Super Bowl date, which is February 8th, 2026. And whose area code is 215? It's Philadelphia's, right? So I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. And then from Bly Burrows and Jalen Hurts' marriage story to the burglary was 78 days. That's interesting because 106, this is going to be the 106th NFL season. 106 is the 78th composite number. and burglary. It happens to have a triple overlap with Super Bowl, including 112. And you can't bank on that. That means Super Bowl. Last year, there was a story that Mahomes and Kelsey's homes got burglarized, and they did go to the Super Bowl, and it was all synced up. And we were on the, again, last year, before the season began, we were on the Chiefs three-peating in the Super Bowl. We knew when the matchup was there that we had to hedge with the Eagles, and we did again, haters want to hate, but again, I've been doing every Super Bowl since 48. I've only been wrong 2 times about the outcome, and both times it was the Eagles. But the first time I was wrong about the Eagles wasn't bad either, because I had the Eagles, if they were going to win, for Zach Ertz to score the winning touchdown at 30-1 odds, and he did. That was a way better payout than the game, obviously. $10 would have paid you $300. But anyway, we knew to hedge with the Eagles last year, and I did love Xavier Worthy for 2 touchdowns, and he did have that at plus 1,200. But anyway, the knowledge pays the bills. We've dominated the Super Bowl in futures. And anyway, you got to follow these stories, because there will be other stories. And this is what we do on Patreon every day. If you want the best information, you got to be on Patreon. But just follow these narratives, because the one thing that I saw, even before Hurts got married to Bly Burrows, what stood out to me about Super Bowl 60 is that it's 60 days after Joe Burrow's birthday, and it's also on the 39th day of the year, and you can see that Bengals is 60 and 39, and Joe Burrow's been very much connected to Joe Montana, who's, the 49er who beat the Bengals 2 times in the Super Bowl. And by the way, 78's the 56 composite number. Super Bowl 56 was also in California, and Burrow was in that one. That was in L.A. L.A. won the Super Bowl on 213, representing the 213 area code. Anyway, all of this is very interesting. This narrative is building here. The Eagles broke up the Chiefs three-peat. If somehow they could make it to 3 straight Super Bowls, the third one will be in L.A., Kobe's town. Kobe, the Black Mamba, the Snake. His team, the Eagles, win the Super Bowl in the year of the Snake. Philadelphia 61. Could they make it to the Super Bowl in L.A. as well? Super Bowl 61. These are all narratives that we're considering. But yeah, this is a very interesting alignment. Now, on the back of Jalen Hurts marrying Burrows. Yeah, technically that has one more S than Joe Burrow, but man, is it close. So we'll continue to follow the clues, and we'll see if we can nail another future. Not that we need to nail any more to prove the worth of Gematria. And that's the other thing about the mass deletions and censorship. And keep in mind, when I got deleted on X, it was right after exposing the rigged NFL again. And you know what else is funny? The Big Lead, USA Today's sports page, right after my deletion on X, they finally took down the article about me that had been up since January 2016. I still have that archived on my old website, but they had that up for almost a decade, and they took it down as well. Like, Once upon a time, that gave me a lot of growth on my YouTube channel when they wrote that hit piece. All right, and then just the Commanders. Got to keep an eye on them, too. They were right there last year. Donald Trump equals 60, Super Bowl 60. He's the commander-in-chief. The new uniforms representing the golden era. Again, 79th element on the periodic table is gold. On 7-9, while the chump is 79, they're unveiling the uniforms from their heyday. So there's a few other thoughts here. They did debut the uniforms 25 days after Trump's birthday, and Trump's 25. And there's a few things that are interesting here as well. They were debuted exactly 43 weeks after the coach's birthday. Dan Quinn, football's 43. The letters DC are the letters 4 and 3. And the last time, or the first time the Commanders won a Super Bowl was 43 years ago come this season. So keep an eye on that as well. Eagles, Commanders was a big storyline last year. If I remember right, the Commanders got their 666th franchise loss versus the Eagles. Or they stayed, that's what it was. They stayed on 666 all-time wins, 641 wins in the regular season, 25 in the postseason. So they're on 666 wins. That happened against Philadelphia. Philadelphia in the Bible gets the letter about the synagogue of Satan. So yeah, those were my big thoughts. Let's see. I'm seeing what else is buzzing right now. White House takes its most aggressive stance yet against Jesuit-educated Jerome Powell. The admin's campaign against the Fed chair hit a boiling point Thursday, with an official claiming Powell broke the law. You're fired. Here comes the apprentice. Again, you guys, 191st day of the year, right? We're talking about Jesuit-educated president, Jesuit-educated head of the Federal Reserve. Don't forget the Federal Reserve was established while the sitting president was 56 years old at the time. That's old Woodrow Wilson. The chump's 79 right now. Of course, Washington, D.C. equals 56 and 187 in the same ciphers as Society of Jesus, who set up camp there before the feds did. Hold on. I can't remember Jerome Powell's date of birth off the top of my head. Let me check that out here. Born on the 35th day of the year. He's 72 right now, like Jesuit Order 72, like President Trump 72. If today's the 191st day of the year and he's born on the 35th, it should be some pretty easy math. Is that 156 days? 156 days, if I'm not mistaken. Should be 156 days. Or it would be also be the 157th day of his age. 911's the 156th prime. I'm just trying to think, though. It doesn't seem like a good enough pairing for why. I guess it's a very Jesuit day, but what more could I be missing here? Let's take a deeper look at this. They're trying to say that Jerome Powell is a criminal. He broke the law. Here's Sweet Girl in the background. I might have to go. He's the 16th chair of the Federal Reserve, like the Jesuits since the 16th century. That happened on February 5th, 2018. So he passed his 7th anniversary earlier this year. Let's take a look at these dates. He became the chair the day after his birthday. 2,712 days ago. 387 weeks. Today is 26 days after Trump's birthday. Let me see how other networks are covering this besides CNN. I can't read anything on CNN because I don't have a membership. Which I can't believe anybody would sign up for a CNN membership. White House, Jerome Powell. Let's see what's going on. I am curious about this story. I forget all the Gematria Federal Reserve. I know it has the Society of Jesus connection. Federal Reserve is 235 and 71, like the Society of Jesus. Remember, the first three presidents to die on 7/4. Right now, the current leader of the Jesuits, July 4th, his birthday falls on the 235th, from the Superior General's birthday, November 12th to July 4th is the 235th day of his age. I find that interesting because the first three presidents to die were the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. They all died on 7/4. Wow. Okay. White House accuses Powell of mismanaging Federal Reserve, citing headquarters renovation. He's grossly mismanaged the Fed. Again, Trump wants lower interest rates. The argument is that if they lower interest rates, it'll send inflation out of control and things will cost even more. And again, for those who argue that Trump represents the ruling class, which I'd say both political parties do, so I think that is a fair accusation, but you just got to recognize that it's true for both political parties. Inflation's not as big of a deal when you're super wealthy for all kinds of reasons, including the super wealthy often own assets. And when inflation happens, assets go up in value. Property goes up in value. The market goes up in value because it's adjusted for inflation. Gold, commodities go up in value. Poor people don't have any of those things. Poor people just have to pay bills, become less in debt, afford food. So Trump's saying, who cares? We want to buy more shit. And I got to be honest, even though I have a business degree, I went to school for accounting. I get confused with all these. Again, our whole economy is a Ponzi scheme, but I get so confused with their arguments about how we need to see less job growth before we can cut interest rate. I'm just like where do these things fit together? So we want to see less people working to cut interest. Like what the stuff they talk about, I don't understand how their Ponzi scheme mathematics work. But these are the same arguments you hear over and over. Again, one of the main ones they say is if they cut interest rates, it will create more inflation. Of course, the printing of dollars during the Cooties 19 scam, where you saw that America was the home of the pussy, that's what really created the major problem that we're living out, the printing of all that money. President Donald Trump's budget chief on Thursday said that Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has grossly mismanaged the Fed and suggested he had misled Congress about a pricey... Okay, so it's the 157th day of Powell's age, which is the 37th prime. So, okay, he misled Congress. I know they do a lot of rituals with Congress in 37, like when they passed their bill on the 3rd day of July, and Bill's the other way around, and the Kill Bill actor, Mr. Madsen, died that day. All right. He misled the Congress about a pricey and is that ostentatious? Is that how you say that? I went to a public school. Renovation of the central bank's headquarters. And by the way, I used to teach kids in 5th grade that my vocabulary is as bad as theirs. So when you find a word that you don't know, you should look it up. Ostentatious, characterized by vulgar or pretentious display designed to impress or attract notice. It's like when you tell them you can grab them by the pussy. Ostentatious. The broadside by Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought opened up a new front in Trump's war of words against Powell. Let's look up who this Russell Vought is. Have we covered this guy before? Russell Vought, another bald guy. God, he's only 49. He makes me feel like I look like I'm 20. Jeez. Russell Vought assumed office on the 38th day of the year. Born on the 85th day of the year. So today's 106 days after... or his 107th day of his age on 10/7. I didn't run my Jerome Powell. Gematria. Jerome Powell. Russell. Do you spell it with 2 L's? Yeah. Russell Vought. Russell Vaught's got the Federal Reserve connection. Hold on. Is Russell Vought guy the guy who with the Heritage Foundation? Did we cover this guy? This is the guy connected to the Heritage Foundation, right? Russell Vought. Yeah, he's the Project 2025 guy from the Heritage Foundation. That's right. Yeah, look at the ritual they did with him. From the election to him getting sworn in was 93 days. Heritage Foundation, 93 like Vought. I remember this guy. Yeah, there was a lot to this ritual here. Those lying politicians are like, we don't have anything to do with Agenda 2025. It's like the only people who fall for that kind of stuff are people who don't know anything about the Republican Party, because the Heritage Foundation might as well be the brain of the Republican Party, and it's been that way since Reagan. The vote for him was 53 to 47. Okay. He was sworn in on the 6th and assumed office the next day. Okay. Well, I think that's the ritual. You got the big Jesuit connection with the date, and then the 157th day of his age, which goes with the 37, which goes with Congress, because they're saying he misled Congress. The one thing I'd want to know is what day are they saying he misled Congress? Where can I get that information? What day did Jerome Powell mislead Congress about the cost of the renovation for the Federal Reserve? And why the Federal Reserve is separate from the federal government, So why would we be paying for their renovations anyway? Why does that go to the Congress? We need a major overhaul. I love how often the word fired comes up with Donald Trump. It's just like, how don't people catch on to this stuff? The Apprentice. Remember how many people he was firing in his first term? It's like, come on. Here's the complaint about this expensive remodel. The Fed is way over budget on the renovation of its headquarters, Vaught wrote in a post on the social media site X. Now up to $2.5 billion. How perfect was that for 25? Roughly $700 million over its initial cost, Vaught wrote. Man, a $2.5 billion renovation? The cost per square foot is almost $2,000. Double the cost for renovating an ordinary historic federal building. Man, that's a lot. I mean, even half that's a lot. $1,000 per square foot. God. The Palace of Versailles would have cost $3 billion in today's dollars. 2.5 though for 25. What a nice number. And then some more 25. Vaught's tweet linked to a letter he sent Powell that referenced the Fed boss June 25th. That's Orwell's birthday. Testimony before the Senate Banking Committee. All right. So the testimony was on June 25th. Today's the 10th. So 15 days ago, huh? Or a span of 16 days, and he's the 16th head of the Fed. Okay, I think that's where they're going. 15 days later, or a span of 16 days. 16 days. And again, the Jesuits since the 16th century. Yeah, I think we're starting to understand the joke a little bit more. It's always in the numbers. The letter asked Powell to respond to 11 questions. Oh, man, they just can't get enough of the 11. 11 questions about the renovation project within 7 business days. Are they playing dice? It's a crapshoot. Okay. All right. By the way, if you guys ever notice all my ads, I don't do the ad blocker things. Maybe I should, but you might notice my ads are always baby food. For all you with the babies, I would suggest spending that extra money to get that European stuff. It's not full of all the crazy crap that's allowed in the Americans' food. It might be more expensive right now, but you could be saving yourself a lifetime of bills. I notice a lot of the young ones around my daughter's age, like putting up with all kinds of illness and sickness. Our sweet girl hasn't been sick a single time. And her mom even got a pretty nasty bug in the wintertime, and sweet girl didn't even catch anything. That breast milk, it works. It's way more effective than those pokey dokes. So. All right. Speaking of sweet girl, I better get back to her. Maybe I'll take a few calls real quick, see if you guys got something. Oh, shout out to the super chatters. The People's Narrative. Thank you, the People's Narrative. I see you donated 2 super chats, a 5 and a 2. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Gematria Sense, always with the generosity, donated 5. NVIDIA hit 4 trillion market cap 32 years after establishment. Yeah, and NVIDIA equals 32. Nice. NVIDIA Corporation, 95, hit this 95 days after the 4/5 anniversary. Appreciate that, Gematria Sense. Again, Free to Find Truth is the website I run. I notify on there when I go live. All you guys who continue to leave comments that you didn't get a notification, that means you've continued to not sign up for the website I spend a bunch of money on every single month. And that would be a way to get a notification every time, because when I notify, it dings your phone right away. Ding! So, and you can come here and just click and be like, I got the notification. Yeah, this has been very expensive and terribly not worth it, because hardly anybody uses it. And I don't know what it takes. You guys always say, get a Discord, use these. The reason I don't want to use the platforms that exist is because I've been deleted on so many platforms. I don't want to build up things on other people's platforms and then get flushed down the toilet again. So I've been paying for my own. And again, if you download the Mighty Networks app, it's free to download. You can just search GematriaEffectNews Community. Get in there. All this is free to use. And you can use it through your smartphone as well. Computer or smartphone or both. Yeah, Gematria Sense said they got a post on here. And let's see. Austin's got a post on there. Austin's got a few posts on there. Back once again's got a post. Ray Shaw's got a post. People have been asking me if I covered the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Gematria Sense, I'm not sure if you posted it in the breaking news feed. Maybe you posted it somewhere else, but or maybe it's just got a little more. Oh, here's Gematria Sense. Yeah, here's Gematria Sense's post. Yeah, the NVIDIA eclipses 4 trillion. And again, you guys, you have unlimited posting space on here. As long as I keep the website up, you're not going to lose your stuff. I do debate on getting rid of it because it is expensive and it hasn't gotten a lot of use and it has cost me a lot over the years. And honestly, just knowing I've been paying for this website for what? Since 2018, I think. It's cost a lot over 7 years and it has not achieved anywhere near what I had hoped. Actually, we were on a different platform and then I converted over to this one. And I don't know, maybe in hindsight, making the conversion was not a good decision because a lot of people didn't go over. But this is a better platform. The setup is a lot smoother. But we did have a lot more people active on the old one for whatever reason. And I remember now that I made the conversion to this site just before I went on the 9/11 New York Across the Nation tour. So we've been on this one since 2022, but the other website was up since 2018. Anyway, it's cost a lot between the two sites, and I have to pay a big annual renewal fee and then a monthly fee. The annual renewal fee is like right around the end of August, beginning of September, and I'll pay it again. But I would like to see in the next year that a lot more people get active on here. Because if I could have seen the future, there's no way I would have done this. There's no way. Absolutely not. It has not been worth it to date. I don't know why it's so hard to. I guess maybe if I have a feeling that if I charge for this, and it might have better use. Some people something that's free, it doesn't have value. I don't know, but it is a good way to get notifications for all you guys who complain about not getting notifications, and you could probably sign up for it in 5 minutes and solve that problem. It'd be awesome if every last subscriber I had would do that and help. Even if you don't have time to watch the videos, hey, just go in real quick, drop a like. Imagine if all 40-some thousand subs were doing that. We could get this channel growing like it deserves to. Anyway, Irving Gattaca, thank you with the 5. He says, Diogo Jota died 11 months, 8 days before the start of the World Cup. Spain, Portugal lost power 4/28, the 118th day of the year. Interesting. Los Angeles has the big 118 connection. Part of the World Cup is in LA, but I've learned the big events in New York. All right, I appreciate that. Real quick, I'll open up the phone lines. I got to be off in 15 minutes, though. I can't do more than 15 minutes, so if you call in, try and be efficient with your thoughts. And I'll try and do it the way that it goes through the call board, so it's better audio quality for you guys. The problem is, at some point, it always starts glitching and gets that, and we lose part of the call. But yeah, if you want to call in, it is that number on the screen. It's 509-560-4982. I can tell the people who aren't crazy about the call-in segment just got out of here. Some people don't like the call-ins, but I like the call-ins. Here's a great caller. It's Dave. Let me get this right, Dave. 1 second. All right, what's up, Dave? Dave, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, Zach? I can hear you.
Doing well.
I didn't want to... Okay, I just got to be real quick because I got to go, but I want you to look into something. It's called the Mark 17 nuclear bomb accident.
Hold on. What nuclear bomb accident?
Mark 17. It happened on May 27, 1957.
Okay, 142nd day of the year. Okay.
Yeah, that according to the story, the bomb fell out of the airplane and landed near Kirtland Air Force Base. That's in Albuquerque.
I see it. Yeah. There's a story like that in the Carolinas as well. Huh, I wonder if I looked at. I covered some things like this years ago, but okay. What were your thoughts?
I live here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. And then with all this other stuff going on, I think I found some homework. But like I said, Zach, I got to go. But I just wanted to put this out. Maybe, I don't know, there could be something to this.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Zach.
All right. Yeah, you're welcome. You have a good one.
Take care.
Yeah. Take care, man. See you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, I know there's a story like that too out of the Carolinas from years ago. Let me switch this around. Let's get what's up, 917? What's up?
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so going back to Jerome Powell, you know the word, the number 166 is a big Kabbalistic number, right? Like the White House equals 166, New World Order equals 166. We go on, the government equals 166, right? Secret society equals 166. Annus coeptis. How you say that? Annus coeptis?
Annus coeptis, yeah,
right?
on the dollar bill.
Yeah, like it's a long list, right? So,
is there a 166
think,
connection with this? Because I know it was 156 days after his birthday, or his 157th day of his age. Is there a 166 as well?
From the founding of the Federal Reserve on December 23rd to today is 166 days, I guess.
Oh, to the upcoming anniversary. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Secret society, all that. 166. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But I would think that would be part of the ritual, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with you. 166 days, secret society, the White House, all those things you just said, that's absolutely true. So that is a good observation.
Yeah. Also, I seen a headline that they're doing a big nationwide protest again on Trump on July 17th. And that's the day what's his name? Joe Louis died. I think John Lewis died, right?
I can't remember. I do believe I covered that though at the beginning of my last book, but I cannot remember off the top of my head the date.
Yeah, 7/17 is
real quick before you move away from this though. We'll see how far this goes because tomorrow, like today's 199 days after that anniversary of the 200th day. So tomorrow, 7/11, it would be the 201st day of the Federal Reserve's age. So we'll see where this story today could go tomorrow. A lot of Trump's firings in his first term, as I often pointed out, happened on Fridays. Tomorrow is a Friday, so we'll see.
Yeah, I remember that was. Yeah, I remember he said that a while back on his first term. He does a lot of firing on Fridays. Yeah, that whole connection. I remember. Yeah, and then what was that thing about Bitcoin and 117? You said.
Well, just tomorrow it can be written 11/7, and Bitcoin's on the verge of it hitting 117 for a value.
Okay. All right, I follow. I think from the day that
Bitcoin's up quite a bit since I started this stream. Bitcoin's up quite a bit. It was like almost to 115 when I started, and now it's almost up to 116. And keep in mind, it's in the other part of the world, the Vatican, which I think has a lot to do with the cryptos. We're already getting pretty. What time is it right now? What time is it in Rome?
They're ready tomorrow.
Yeah, it's already. Yeah, so pay attention to when it does hit it, because sometimes I think the Bitcoin time is actually synced up with the time over there rather than here. But go ahead.
I mean, that's after 6 o'clock. It's already tomorrow. They can sit over there in the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, but how does this connect to Satoshi Nakamoto? How many days is it from his birthday?
Well, we know he's got the April 5th
whatever.
birthday, right? For people who don't know, a lot of Bitcoin rituals with 45 too. Bitcoin's 45, Nakamoto's 45. His birthday's April 5th. One of the greatest rituals ever was synced with his 45th birthday, 45 weeks from it. But that's the 95th day of the year. Today's the 191st. So what is that? 96 days later? Tomorrow would be 97, the 25th prime. And crypto, what is it?
90.
Crypto is 97. So
okay.
97 is the 25th prime. Again, here we are in 2025, and a lot of 97 stuff.
Yeah, we just talked about that on the Patreon like last 2 months, like 2 months ago, about this coming up too.
Yeah. Again, just I'm stuttering. The diversity of this knowledge. Again, sports, crypto, markets, news, rig selections. You think more people will be talking about it?
Yeah. I wanted to say, I think from the day of the protest, if you want, from John Lewis' death, from his birthday to his death is I think 147 days in the United States. President of the United States equals 147. You know, you're doing a protest on that day.
Who's doing a protest for John Lewis?
John Lewis, I think. On John Lewis's death on July 17th, they're doing a nationwide protest on Trump. And from Joe Lewis's, I think from his birthday, from like I think February, I forget what day, but from
a week from today,
his birthday
next Thursday. Yeah. There's a nationwide protest on a Thursday.
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's in tribute to him.
That's 100. Yeah, it's 147 days. President of the United States, he was 147. Along with a whole bunch of other stuff, but I'm not gonna get into it. Yeah, I think that was interesting.
Yeah, I know. I covered John Lewis's death at the beginning of my last book, Number Games. I tucked it in there as an example of a recent ritual in the Jesuits, and it's that 177 date. So.
Yeah, but there's something else about this, but that Federal Reserve and Bitcoin thing just messed me up. I forgot what I was going to say. I was about to take in. Wow. Yeah, so I guess we'll see what pops off tomorrow. And one more thing. I think Tisha Bob lands on 8/3 this year on August 3rd.
August 2nd and August 3rd.
Yeah,
we've been talking about that. August 2nd and August 3rd. It'll be the 666th day of the war in Israel, and August 3rd will be 666 days after it began. And Tisha B'Av equals 82 and 28. It's kind of like August 2nd can be, written.
I would imagine they do some I would think they do some major weather warfare thing or some major death ritual that day or something. Well,
yeah. Yeah, I think there's temporary truce between Israel and Iran and the U.S. I think around that time you might see it come apart. So
with the way things are, they might make it snow in Israel on 8/3.
Maybe they'll wash away all Aqsa Mosque. It'll be a flood. It'll be biblical. They'll say God.
Oh my God!
They'll say that was God. God washed away those filthy Muslims. That's what the QAnon will
say. Stuff like this, Zach. You say stuff like this, and it actually ends up happening. Oh my God, man. Anyway, I'm gonna let somebody else be on. Thanks, Zach, for all your work. Appreciate you.
All right. Yeah. Good thoughts as always. Take care. All right, I got time for one more call, and then I got to call it a day. Sweet girl's calling. Shout out to John Mendoza, always with the big 2. Thank you again, John. You chip in a lot of 2s, and they add up. I appreciate it. Leper Messiah again, who's become too generous. Leper Messiah, I'm seeing your name too many times. I do appreciate it, but make sure you got that rainy day fund. He said, everyone donate $1. You say that all the time, and yeah, I do appreciate it. Thank you. What's up, 908? Hello?
Hey, Zach. Sorry, I didn't connect at first. I dropped a link in both my super chats, but Google deleted them both, so I ended up linking it in the chat. I just hope you could pull it up because I did a decode quick on the Mecha Hitler story that XAI was saying it it turned all Hitlerian.
Well,
But I just wanted
remember,
to drop
Google
that in.
doesn't allow you to link links at all. They just delete your comment. That's pretty much what Google does. So that's never going to work. For anyone who doesn't know that, there's no point in linking
Oh, no.
links in the comments or the
I
chat.
typed it all out.
You know, where
Yeah,
it'd be
I
a
typed it
great
all out
place
and
to
then it
link
deleted
it.
it, so.
Had you called up and said, "Hey, I just dropped it
No,
in the news feed on Free to Find
on Free to-
Truth," I'd be able to pull it up in seconds.
It's on there. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, it's on Free
It's
to
the
Find
first one.
Truth.
You had it on the screen before.
Oh, okay. It's on Free
Yeah.
to Find Truth. I see. And what's your handle on there?
But
The People's Narrative?
the People's Narrative should be the first one. Yep.
All right. He says, Zach, I'm surprised you missed the Mecha Hitler story on 7-9, like Society of Jesus. Mecha Hitler's got the 102 like Art of War, like World War. Oh, he hung up already, but I guess he got what he wanted. Another divide and conquer psyop brought to you by Elon's controlled playpen. That was the day his CEO resigned. Oh, by the way, some people have been leaving in the comments after videos that when my voice is speaking, you hear a buzz. Let me just interact with the chat right now. When I was watching my videos, I didn't hear the buzz. I went back and listened to the videos. I'm like, I don't hear the buzz. But then again, I don't have good hearing because my ear rings all the time. Is it constantly buzzing when I'm talking, you guys? I need to unplug everything and plug it back in and figure out why that is. I have good equipment. It shouldn't be buzzing. When I'm talking right now, do you guys hear a buzz? Is there a buzz? Thank you, Leopard Messiah. I appreciate it. Leopard Messiah is up from 25 to 800 on DraftKings. Again, we're not trying to teach people to become gambling addicts, but I do encourage the don't waste your money on junk food and coffee and put that $5 a day towards hitting parlays and learn how to turn 5 into 500, 50 here. Might be a tough day. Just turn it into 25, pays for your next $5 parlays. There is a buzz today. Yes. Huh. Some people say no, but a lot are saying yes. I'm going to unplug everything and replug it back in. I don't know why that would be. Let me do something real quick. I'm going to move this cord over here, and I'm going to move this cord right here. Is there a buzz right now? Austin doesn't hear the buzz. My hearing's not good. Maybe us who don't have good hearing can't hear the buzz. I had two cords touching each other. I didn't think they have big fat plastic coatings, so I didn't think it mattered, but is it buzzing right now? Did anything change? I'm gonna have to rearrange this so they don't touch if that's making a difference. What's up, 202?
Zach, there's no buzz.
Everybody in the chat said yes.
Man, I'm hearing it right now, man. Your mic is perfectly clear with my headphones on.
I have that sound effect on that makes it sound more radio-like. I wonder if people consider that the buzz.
Now I just heard a noise.
Okay, well, a lot of people are leaving the comment. I'm just going to unplug everything and see if I can clean up the wire arrangement a little bit neater so that no wires touch. See if that makes the difference.
All right.
All right. I appreciate it, though. Thank you. Okay, he's in and out. All right, do appreciate the generosity. We raised $25 on the stream. Not bad, not bad. Again, thank you, The People's Narrative Times 2. Thank you, Gematria Sense. Thank you, Irving Gattaca. Thank you, John Mendoza. Thank you again, Leopard Messiah. And shout out to Dale, who's also super generous, who really doesn't need to be donating anymore. But I do appreciate it, Dale. You are a very generous person. Thank you. Some of you guys say you don't hear it. I can't. Again, my hearing doesn't count, though, because my ear always rings. But I'll resort my wires and see what happens the next time we broadcast. Yeah, some of you guys are saying it buzzes every time I speak. Part of me wonders, though, if it's the I forget what they call it. There's something that they call it on the soundboard. The big something. It's supposed to be like a radio sound, but maybe to some of you guys it sounds like a buzzing sound. All right, anyhow, if you got here late, please do rewind. Lots of important information at this stream. A whole bunch of new 201s for the 201 scrapbook. All right. Yeah, Nathan, who's more of an audio expert, has an idea of what it could be. I'll reconfigure and we'll try again next time. All right, you guys, have a good rest of your day. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. About half of you hit the like who are in the building. If you guys could hit the like, if you could drop a comment, all these things are supposed to help the algorithm. And thank you to everyone who also clips the videos. A few people do that, just put little clips out on their own channel, just little segments here. Hold on, we got one more call, and then we'll wrap it up. We'll get one more caller in here. 561.
Oh, hi, Zachary K. Hubbard. I was born in New Jersey, the 201 area code in Teaneck, New Jersey. Yeah. And my sister Haley was born on the 201st day of the year in Hackensack, New Jersey, also in the 201 area code. Yes. Do all about 201. Do about 201. Yeah. Do everything about 201 on July 20th. On July 20th, the 201 area code is my birth state. Yeah, but place to be in.
All right. I appreciate it.
201 area code.
Thank you. All right. Those aren't the 201s we're looking for. Come on. We're talking about how this cabal operates, not what day your sister was born on. Hold on, we got to get a better call on that. From 561 to 562, that's weird. Let's let 562 close us out. We got to do better. What's up?
Hey, does China and Russia, are they also ran by the Jesuits?
Of course they are. The Jesuits were preserved in Russia, and the Jesuits have been in China for longer than the U.S. has been a nation. That's why Xi Jinping messes with Taiwan and 201 rituals, paying tribute to history. Yeah.
Really? Wow. So they're worldwide, huh? Worldwide.
Well, just go by any of their universities.
Wow.
They etch on their universities how proud they are of being the driving force of globalization. Gonzaga out here in Washington State put up a big old quote by Adolfo Nicholas, the last superior general, right after he died. Again, one of the many quotes about just the Jesuits and globalization. For people who forgot about the Adolfo Nicholas ritual, were you here when Adolfo Nicholas died on Cannonball Day?
Yes.
Okay, he's the superior general. He died at 84, like superior general equals 84, like Jesuit, like the Jesuit order, like the Catholic Church. I used to have a video at the Gonzaga campus showing off the fresh quote right after he died. Hold on. He died 191 days after the current superior general's birthday, like Society of Jesus. Here we are on the 191st day of the year. But he died on the day leaving 225 days left in the year, which is connected to the first superior general, and his name Adolfo Nicholas is 225. But yeah, just look up the quotes about from prominent Jesuit leaders and globalization. That's why the Jesuit order literally equals New World Order in Gematria. They are it.
So they run China and Russia and all these major countries. So it's all over. There's no hope.
What do you mean it's all
over?
over?
It's all over. They have it.
You know what I think Hollywood needs to start doing? Hollywood needs to start making movies. Well, Hollywood's controlled by these people too, so they're not going to do that. But Hollywood always likes to glorify the government and make them seem like they're so powerful and they're the good guys. Hollywood needs to start making more movies empowering the people to get rid of the government. If you guys were looking at that kind of imagery every day instead of zombie movies or God knows what else you're looking at, you might think that you could actually do something. And I'm pretty sure humanity could if they would just resist. Again, had everybody behaved like we did in the time of Cooties 19, it wouldn't have worked. The Cabal's plan would not have worked if everyone behaved like yours truly, for example. I was showing you guys how to do videos of shopping in public without a mask and telling everybody to go F themselves. So, again, that's what everyone should have been doing. World would have been totally
you got
safe.
kicked out of Costco, huh?
What's that?
You got kicked out of Costco, huh?
I did. I got a letter from Costco, and they had to see Costco wouldn't have been able to revoke my membership if everybody behaved like that, right? They would have went out of business, so they couldn't have done that.
Yep. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, see it.
Bye.
I saw somebody was trying to call in here. Sebastian, he's getting old on us. Sometimes he drives me nuts. Sebastian, If you want to call in, oh, well, somebody else is calling now, says Sebastian. I do need to get off too. 908.
Hey, Zach.
Hello.
Oh, I just want to call in to save it from the last two trolls. So yeah, about the Mega Hitler decode I did, I just wanted to bring it back around to that. I really think this is going to be kind of an archetype of this AI kind of journey moving forward, because what they're really hitting at is that what it's being programmed with has to be more selective. And I feel like for someone like you at first was seeing like AI almost at times praise Gematria, be like, we should look into what Zachary K. Hubbard's doing. I think one of your people in the community or you once looked it up and it was more balanced. And then all of a sudden in the last few months, it's very negative and scathing.
It was
so,
the day after
again,
I covered
really
it. No, it was that fast. I covered how positive it was. I was like, wow, I like reading this. I'm almost a fan of AI. And then like the very next day, it was like a total hater thing. I was like, whoa, man, that was an instant 180 by the AI.
Yeah, it's pathetic. And it seems, again, like the way they're, okay, so either it's going to be completely just programming or it's something to accelerate these dialectics. That's my opinion. So again, something like this, like you read, how is an AI that's controlled by, again, a multi-billion-dollar company talking about Hitler? Well, again, in my opinion, when you see how close they are working with the ADL and like Ari Emanuel, it seems to me like they're almost trying to figure out who is divisive and then who will just fall in line and be like, oh, this is a god. This is like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, just, accept everything it says. So there seems to be very little nuance, and it's either, again, just programming or how do we accelerate these dialectics. So I just wanted to save it from the trolls. And again, I'm going to continue to use Predefined Truth to do the posts.
Well, hey, I'm glad you brought this to my attention. I'll do a decode on this and see how it all lines up with his little salute. It was all synced up with Warner von Braun that for calling out got deleted from X, but I'm not on X anymore, so I can't be deleted again. But yeah, you're on it here. So and notice it was on 7/8 that Rolling Stone broke the news. Like I'm Dark Mega, the whole 78 thing of him and Trump, which I covered earlier in the stream. So and I see other media covered it the next day. I didn't even think of that angle. Yeah, I covered it both days.
Well, yeah, I just want to bring that to your attention because it's, again, it seems like for people who are divisive, they want them in a category that's very quick to shut down. And something like, in my opinion, Gematria is like, that's exactly what they don't want because there's nuance. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, again, a very archetypical story for the times, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. Appreciate it, man. I'll look more into it. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day, Zach.
All right, see you. Yeah, just remember the SS was modeled after the Jesuit 78. This was Rolling Stone on 7/8. Sebastian, if you're out there, make it quick because I got to go. I saw you just tried to call in a second ago. St. Lucie, Florida, 772. 503 tried to call in just now. Said 503, you can call in too because that's my hometown, the area code. Remember the full name of ICE? You know, the thing that's like, where's your papers at, brown people? The full name of ICE equals 503, and the Antifa people have been tearing up the 503 area code over ICE. What's up, 772?
Hey, Zach, what's up? I had something quick for today. You were talking about the semi-primes. I noticed that that 33 is the 11th semi-prime, which is interesting because 11 is the master number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also noticed that 26 is the 10th semi-prime, and I thought that was interesting because, 26 in our language, 10 represents completeness.
God.
That's why they picked 26.
God has the 26 and 10 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. All this mathematical stuff's the way we could advance it. The composite numbers, the semi-primes, I think it is all very brilliantly thought out, this whole system. So.
Yeah, and also for now everybody's blaming the small hats. Rome conquered the small hats. They built the Arch of Titus to commemorate their conquest of the small hats, and that happened, 2,000 years ago. So, they completely own them. They're just a part of they're under their umbrella. It's part of the Holy Roman Empire conquest.
Yeah.
And also the one other quick thing is that the people that are always like, oh, make a prediction. I think that the easiest thing that you could say is, you could easily ask them, because what we're doing is basically we're just telling people that the stuff's scripted, is ask them, is Squid Game real life? And then when they say that it's not, that it's scripted, ask them what's going to happen in the next season. They just give you a simple, basic prediction, and then they can't do it. That means that that it's real.
Yeah. And
That's
again,
basically what
we
they're
also
saying when
don't
they
need
use the
to.
argument.
Again, listen. Like I always say to people, you should have been here a long time ago. You would have witnessed a lot of great predictions. And the reality is the better the predictions are, the more likely my channel gets deleted too. That's also been a real trend. It's like the last time I had 100,000 views was for predicting exactly what would happen on January 6th because it was all simulated at Georgetown, and those were the last times I got 100K views on a video, and I got deleted right after. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, Elon's supposedly free speech platform that everybody gets banned from. I didn't get suspended until he bought it.
Yeah.
I can't even say the F slur on that. I can't even say the FAG one on there because then the platform, I got suspended for that. How is that free speech? Is that illegal to say?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll let you get to your Ruby. She's so cute.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Take care, Sebastian. Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right, I do got to get off, but I want to hear from the 503. I like to hear from my hometown. 503, if you're still out there, close us out, 503. I'm standing by. But if you don't call in about 30 seconds, I got to go because I already am about 15 minutes over time. Again, thank you to the super chatters. I appreciate you, Leper, always dropping the money and asking other people to donate. It's never been a working strategy, though. Money's tight for a lot of people, but I appreciate it. What's up, 503? Thank you for calling in.
Hello.
Hello.
This is A. Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
You're good. I hear you.
All right. So I turned on my camera and we talked a little bit ago, but it was a long time ago. But anyways, I was wondering if you knew anything about 589. It's a really big number, so I haven't really found anything connected with it. And it seems to be connected with XRP.
Oh, it's the address, right? Hold on. Somebody asked me about this like 2 months ago, and I looked at it. I think I did a post on this. Let me go to my website. Did you search 589 on my website?
I did. So I had somebody come into just randomly tell me a bunch of things about it. There's a guy who also only follows 589. Apparently it was launched on 589 and there's some mathematical doubling it's doing. So there's a lot of stuff there that I wrote down. But I just can't figure out what 589 would be connected to because it's such a big
If I remember right, Donald Trump equals 589 in one of the bigger ciphers, and of course, crypto's been on a tear since he came into office. And again, whose headquarters is at 589?
I'm thinking like XRP or Ripple.
Yeah, I think it is XRP. Yeah, Donald Trump's 589 in Jewish Gematria, aka Latin Gematria. And
really, okay.
Yeah, you probably didn't see the stream, but I did cover something about, and there was more to it. I'm trying to find my post on this. Unless I forgot to do the post.
I think you had a couple of videos where it might have been in there, but somebody was really kind of dropping something. And then I was like checking it out, like something like, anyways, what he was saying made sense to me. Like, anyways, for the things that I checked out briefly. So then the other thing is that, are you familiar with the game RuneScape?
I'm not.
Okay. Anyways, I was like watching kind of like old, kind of like I was watching a thing on it recently and I was wondering, I was like, oh, I wonder, I've seen this before, but I wonder if I'm going to see anything. And then I'm watching it again and there's all these 11s. This event happened on World 111. And the event happened on 666. And I was like, oh, why are there so many 11s around here? So I thought that was pretty cool. So thank you. That's about it.
All right, man. I appreciate it. You have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Right, take care. And just remember the whole thing, like the crypto market going wild when Trump first took office, and a lot of stuff with XRP too. Remember, we thought XRP would have a big day on the 78th day of the year, and it did. Just want to remind about this. cryptocurrency is 78. The Ripple coin has the 201. It also has the 78. But yeah, Trump comes in at age 78 and the crypto markets go crazy. And don't forget, Jesuit's 78. So they want to lure people into that excitement of the digital currency. You can watch it go on your phone. But yeah, I'm going to laugh if XRP, or not XRP, but Bitcoin, and actually pay attention to what XRP does too, because Ripple coin and Bitcoin both equal 117. But I said a long time ago, I said the next big landmark for Bitcoin is 117, and it looks like it might cross that threshold on 11.7. And by the way, if you're still out there, a guy in the Portland area code who came out and stood next to me and argued with me that Bitcoin's not controlled and I'm wrong and it's going to free us. Again, how many rituals have you watched me call dead on through these Jesuit numbers with Bitcoin over the years? And how come you never call in to admit that you're wrong? I hate that people can't admit that they're wrong. It's also a big part of the reason this work's not viral, because it kills people's ego. It just kills it. They can't admit the world's not what they thought it was. It is this rigged. It is this controlled, and Bitcoin is not the savior. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Again, thank everyone who hits the like and the share. Please do, and please drop a comment once the stream's over. These things do help the algorithm, and this work does need to get out to more people. Until next time, Truth Seeker.